गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन, हरिओम। आप सभी को नमस्ते।
नमस्ते, हरिओम।
तो टाइम हो गया है, तो वी विल स्टार्ट विद द प्रेयर। Once again, I welcome all, and I welcome Dr. Usha Vasthare ji and Vasant Jajoo ji. और आज का हमारा टॉपिक कल के कंटिन्यूएशन में है, अल्टीमेट मंत्र फॉर वेलबींग. So over to you, ma'am. Ma'am.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Anita ji. Yeah. First time we are getting to see you in this. Hope to get to meet you as well.
I have made you co-host. हाँ, yes, you can share.
Thank you. Today, let's begin with loving kindness meditation, what we call as metta meditation. Find a comfortable position or a posture, sitting down on a cushion or on a chair. Close your eyes and connect to the rhythm of your breath. Imagine that you're sitting with someone or something who embodies loving kindness to you. It could be a person dear to you. It could be your spiritual teacher or a pet or even a favorite tree. Imagine this and feel very strongly. This is also a visualization meditation. So the more you feel, the more effective it is going to be. Bring your attention inwards. and picture yourself in your mind's eye. Become deeply aware of the person you are. Saturate yourself with awareness about yourself. You repeat these phrases to yourself 3 to 5 times. May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be well. Don't rush through the repetitions. Speak slowly and deliberately. And say it and repeat it with a lot of feeling. If you notice your thoughts coming in, other thoughts coming in, gently, kindly, and lovingly bring your attention back to these words. And if you find it difficult to send this love to yourself, sometimes some people do find this difficult, then think of an act of kindness you have done. It can be something very small, shouldn't matter. And say the words from the place of goodness. Alternately, you can think of yourself as a child and wish that child well. Repeat, may I be happy. May I be peaceful. And may I be well. Now, think of someone you are close to, with whom you share your life. A friend, a partner, a child, someone you love. Picture that person sitting in front of you and let that image become really rich. And wherever this person is in real life, speak your chosen phrases to that person as though the person is there with you. You may repeat, may you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. May you be well. When you have repeated a few times, let that person stand up and walk away from you. Next, think of someone you have neutral feelings about. This could be someone you cross paths with in your neighborhood, or someone who works in your local shop. And let that person sit down in front of you and speak your phrases to that person. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. And may you be well. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. And may you be well. When you're finished, let that person stand up and walk away. And you come back to your breathing. Be grounded in your breath. The next one may be challenging and difficult for some people. In your mind's eye, picture a person you have some negative feelings or negative memories about that person. Someone you have had a disagreement with, or a long standing grudge, or maybe a brief moment of disrespect. It could be an ex partner or a partner, a sibling or a colleague. As I said, this can be the most challenging thing for few people if the feelings are too raw and too strong. If that is the case, imagine that person as a child. And again, speak as though that person is sitting in front of you and you're speaking directly to that person. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. And may you be well. May you be happy. May you be peaceful. And may you be well. As that person stands up and walks away, come back to yourself. Focus on your breath. Let us now wish and pray for the well-being for self and all in our existence. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May all be happy. May all be free from illness. May all see what is goodness and auspiciousness. And may no one suffer. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. You may gently rub your palms, massage your facial and neck region, and you may gently open your eyes. Thank you. Okay. Yesterday, we didn't have much time to interact because we took little longer time. Before I start off today, if we can take up a few questions. I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. I was expecting Ravish. Vasant mentioned the name. I didn't. You're new
Anita?
to-
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Anita. Okay.
Yeah.
Anita.
Hmm.
Good to see you, Anita, the new person in Nisargopachara Kendra. Okay. Yeah, Anita, if we can take up a
Yeah.
few
If
questions, so that would
anyone having question, please raise your hand and ask.
from yesterday's presentation.
Auntie, you may like to just quickly revise about yesterday so that thoughts come back and then.
Yeah, sure. After everything what we have said, let's just focus on these two aspects. We understand that there is a very close connection between body and mind. And not only that, we do understand that there is a close connection between mind, body, and our behavior too. And this is what the foundation of cognitive behavior training or cognitive behavior therapy is. But we know for our well-being, just understanding the mind-body behavior connection is not going to be enough. We feel there is one more factor, which is the most crucial factor, and that is interpersonal relationships. We're going to see by the end of these 4 days how the role of interpersonal relationships is so crucial, even more crucial than our own health and wealth. And we looked at all of this from the angle of evolving ourselves. So I'm going to end the talk with this question, but let me also start off with this question, the same question. So whenever you are faced with a difficult situation with respect to any particular relationship, at that moment, all you need to do is to ask yourself a question. Do I want to just go through this situation? In other words, quote unquote, survive? Or do I want to take an opportunity and evolve through this relationship, through this situation? And mind you, there is no right or wrong answer for this. At times, we may not be able to evolve. And that is okay. We need to be kind to ourselves. But we need to know the ultimate goal of all of us as human beings. So keep that in the back of your mind. And then if you have any questions related to this, you may ask. And we're going to establish this the next 2 days also.
Bankim bhai?
Namaste.
Namaste.
You know, I would not say it is a question, but from what I understood from yesterday's, the entire presentation, and I'm talking about myself, okay? I mean, I would say it's all about my personal experience. What I see here is, what you call expecting a drastic change. Okay, I would say about me, right? Okay, because I see myself on the extreme or other spectrum of what I just heard yesterday. Okay, so we call it change management. So I think if I have to get molded into this, then it's going to be like a good change management for me personally. So that's how I see it.
Great, Bankim. I'm not going to answer this at all. Yesterday was just the tip of the iceberg. When you go through these 3 sessions today and tomorrow and day after, you will be convinced why is this necessary? And when I say the question for anything that we are facing, at that moment we have to ask this question for ourselves. The answer is in that question. So the answer is put in the form of a question. And there are 2 answers, whether I just have to adjust, adapt, or survive, or do I need to evolve? Actually, it's
Yes,
a $1 million
agree.
question. And this truly
Right, and
has
I see
helped.
on the extreme, right?
Yeah.
About survival.
Ex-
I would say would be on the survival mode.
Yes,
Extreme
most
on
of us
the
are.
maybe.
These are, Bankim, we are trying to bring in the latest advances in neuroscience research, which is what you're going to see today, because we're going to go into hardcore neuroscience concepts. And we are trying to bring in this recent research in neuroscience, and we are combining with the ancient wisdom along with our experiences, both Vasant's and mine. That's why we have put this together. Along with our experiences, we are packaged this in a way that it is going to be easy for you, or I should say simple, but not easy. We have made it really, really simple. Whatever has taken us years, we have tried to package it and condense it so that we can give you in 4 days. And our hope, our wish, and our prayer to you all that it should not take so many years like it has taken for us. That is the whole crux. However, we are certain about it. It should not take us as much time because we were treading a new path, untrodden path. We need to figure this one out ourselves, and it should not, and I can assure you it will not take as much time as it has taken us. So delve deep into these concepts, neuroscience concepts, and newer concepts that we are bringing about. Even this survive, evolve, we have heard about all of these terms. By itself, nothing is new, but the way we have practiced in our lives, it is like cracking the code, and we are just giving it to you on a platter. And as I said, we really hope, wish, and pray for all of you it should not take as much time as it has taken us. It should not be as difficult as it was for us while doing this trial and error. What works, why it did not work, all of this we have gone through. And we are here to share our experiences so that we can all evolve on this journey together. And you will see what I mean is, I'm still using, we are evolving. You'll see why as we go along. Yeah, we can take, please make it as a question so that I can give you crisp answers, and then we can move on to the neuroscience concepts. And let your questions be based on yesterday's presentation. And we will have time periods even during today's presentation where you'll be able to ask questions. Yes,
Sumit
Anita.
Nair ji,
Yeah,
please
namaste,
ask.
ma'am. I have a question, like when you say we evolve, so what exactly we mean by evolving?
We're going to go through that. I don't have to answer. Yesterday also we touched upon it. We are going to be going deeper in the next 3 days. You will not get all that answer even in 2 days. We're going deeper. We are taking it layers. So,
Okay. So
yes.
what was the first layer that we have touched upon in evolving, or we are going to do it now?
Yesterday we said the surest way to evolve is to have meaningful relationships. And what that evolve means, we're going to go through from a neurobiological perspective and from a neuroscientific perspective.
Okay. And when we say the relationship over here, is it like the relationship with our family members, or it's in the work life, like
Everywhere.
what exactly?
Everywhere.
Okay, so is it something like networking also we are saying these things, or it's an actual relationship? What is the
Networking,
difference?
those are all kind of corporate terms. We network
Yeah,
for
exactly.
a cause. I don't want to bring that up here right now. Relationships, it does not matter for what you're doing, because many a times networking is gonna be for a cause, for a purpose. And I'm not saying all networking is gonna be like that, but many a times it is for self-centered reasons. So we are gonna see how when we build up,
Sure.
how certain relationships can help us evolve, how certain relationships will pose a challenge for us to be evolving. So,
Can I add something, Auntie?
yes, please.
A very one-line answer, what popped up in my head when Subhitji asked that question is to develop our ability to be able to connect with, having a deep connect with diverse sets of people could be a yardstick of, one of the yardsticks of evolving.
Yeah, otherwise we want to choose only a small circle where we are in the comfort zone, right? And try to keep others away. Absolutely. And this statement, what both Vasant and I made just now, you will really find that answer on the 4th day. Yes, Anita.
Yeah, Madhuji, please ask.
Good morning, everyone. Ma'am, I don't know whether I should ask this question, but it is something to do with epigenetics, which you mentioned yesterday. Because I feel it, it can give a lot of hope to people who are suffering from, the so-called genetic diseases. And I am also one of them. I have neuro related problem. I have some disorder where, my hands shake. I have essential tremors. And this has, according to my belief, this has come from one of my aunt I have inherited. So, I have lot of interest in epigenetic science.
Yeah,
because
if I may stop you right
Yeah.
there, Madhu.
Sure.
We are not going to directly deal with it. Yesterday, Vasant did mention about epigenetics. We can take that up question much later because it is so
Okay.
individualistic. It's not going to help others, and let us
Okay.
just focus. Otherwise, we're going to just lose time when
Yes.
answering very particular customized question. This should
Okay.
be based on something what we did yesterday. I think we will take up 2 more questions and then move on, Anita.
Yes, 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 ma'am. Bharti ji, please ask.
Hello, namaste everyone. Namaste, Vasant bhai and ma'am. I was wondering yesterday you said about sitting and smoking as an example. Okay, 1 hour break you require and all. Similarly, there may be some other examples which is having the physical uh, limitation, you can say, as per our diseases and all. If you can explain some scientific background about these so that it becomes easier for even doctors to treat the patient and have a proper solution, a
Okay,
holistic
if I can
solution.
stop you
Not
right.
in this, not in this
If I,
workshop.
1 second,
But
Bharti, if I
yeah,
can stop you right there.
yeah,
Again, this is a very customized personal question. We can take it
right,
up
yeah,
after the 2-hour session
yes,
because this
yeah,
will affect everybody's thing. And
naturally,
then we are focusing on the overall holistic well-being. So these very customized specific questions, both Vasant and I will stay back after 8:30 if it is okay with you, Anita. We will
Yeah,
take up such customized questions. Please
yeah.
don't bring
thank
up
you,
any individual customized questions in these sessions. Stay back and ask for us to stay back, and we will be happy to answer those.
thank you.
Only to be fair for the rest of the people. Thank you.
Okay. And one question is there in chat. Can you please recap yesterday's session in brief?
I did that already in the, if that person was late, I'm sorry. You have to be on time because even before, soon after our meditation, I did give a recap and it's not going to be right and fair for the rest of the people for me to be spending time from yesterday's. You can go back and check so that we can move on and learn newer
Yes.
things so that we can build on that. Otherwise, if we are stuck on that, if we have not understood, because as I said earlier, what we are trying to bring you is the most recent advances in neuroscience research. These terms seem very simple. We have made it simple, but it's going to be difficult to get that intellectual conviction. So if that is going to be this case, that is why this was on live stream, right? YouTube. Please go back and refresh before coming back to the next session because it is not going to be fair for others to keep repeating just yesterday. But thank you. Thank you for all those questions. I'm sure it has helped many. The reason for these questions, one person may be asking, but it should help out everybody. Please keep this in the back of your mind because sometimes something that is very highly customized for me is not going to benefit others if I'm going through some particular condition. But we are aware of the help or solution, maybe what you are looking for, then please stay back. I'm going to repeat this again after the session, and we will definitely answer to the extent that is possible from us. And thank you. So we will move on, Anita.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So we're going to get to understanding some core neuroscience concepts. The neuroscience concepts will not change. The neuroscience concepts will be the same whether we are looking at how do we improve our relationships, or it could be from a student's perspective, How am I able to focus? How can I increase my concentration? How can I do well in my exams? Or it could be for a professional to try and see how can I bring work-life balance? Or how do I manage stress? How do I build resilience? We're going to be using the same neuroscience concepts. The concepts will not change. But while you go through these concepts in the next half hour or so, keep in mind we are focusing on meaningful relationships and using our relationships, interpersonal relationships. It does not matter. It does not restrict and limit to our family and our friends and our neighbors. Anybody, even a stranger that you come across on the street, how can you be non-judgmental about that person, and how at that moment you can evolve? Or you see somebody and judge that person with your limited facts and figures, and which will prevent us to evolve at that moment. So it's a broad general term. It is not restricted and limited to our own few people. So when you go through these concepts, keep in mind how can we learn to love others? How can we learn to accept the love from others? We think love is such a common word and a feeling. We know how to love. And why that person does not love? None of that. So have a clean slate and see through these next 3 days how can you learn to love others, and how can you learn to accept that love. They're both very important. So from that perspective, also try and see how you can increase your wisdom and bring peace in this relationship, whichever relationship that you're working on, and bring some joy into this. So from this angle, you're going to understand the neuroscience concepts in the next half hour or so. First and foremost, we're going to understand the relationship between our thoughts and our feelings. What is that relationship? A thought occurs, and that every thought releases a chemical. And depending on the type of chemical that is released, a feeling is produced. And again, depending on the feeling a chemical is released, again, every feeling releases a chemical, not just the thought. And depending on the chemical that is released, thought occurs. This cycle you need to understand and hone in. So if there is a negative thought, releases negative chemicals and produces negative feelings. If it is a positive thought, produces positive feelings. So this, at the simplest level, we're going to keep going deeper even in this understanding of this relationship between thought and feeling cycle, we will see. So in other words, thinking creates the feeling and feeling creates the thinking. And mind you, thoughts come and go like that. They're fleeting, whereas feelings stay longer, and feelings are seen at the level of the body. We're going to keep going deeper into these things. So this is the first layer of understanding right now. And even yesterday we said everything begins from a thought, right? A thought. One second. A thought produces a feeling, producing an action. How is there any chemical imbalance that is produced? Because we hear this quite often. It's not just the doctors, even everybody knows, oh, there is a chemical imbalance in my brain, and then that's why the doctor has given this chemical. And especially in India, what with my experience, what I see is somebody goes to the doctor and the doctor explains a chemical imbalance and gives some medicine, and the person is taking that medicine for years together, whether there is any need or not. So a plug-in here: anytime you go see a doctor, try and do follow-up, not just for this, for anything. Just because a medicine has been given, that you should not be taking for years together. Of course, I'm not talking about your hypertensive medicine or the diabetic medicine. The doctor will let you know how long you need to take. But other things, like, for example, people have anxiety, go to the doctor and they get Anxit. This is the brand name that I heard in this country, and they keep taking that for years together. So that's a side note. But anyway, this is the reason some of these mental health conditions occur. If there are too many negative thoughts producing negative feelings, there will be a chemical imbalance resulting in either could be depression, anxiety, panic attacks is type of anxiety, producing stress, even addictions for that matter. And even addictions to our thoughts, not just certain actions, and repetitive thoughts and actions. And with our experience, I'm not going to delve into this. Right here in Nisargopachara Kendra, they had looked into how some of these, for example, either depression or to a certain extent anxiety, we touched upon anxiety, how if it is subclinical depression or a mild, even up to moderate depression, by understanding the neuroscience behind it and by changing our thought patterns, that we are able to change the chemical balance in our brains. Extremely important to understand. That is why even the new medical research shows, even if somebody has depression or anxiety, just taking the medicine, antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications, is not going to be enough. That has to be combined with some kind of therapy, psychotherapy. And the purpose of that workshop that we did at Nisargopachara Kendra to treat or to make people understand who are going through depression was to try and show them how, by changing their own thought patterns, that they can change this chemical imbalance. So rather than being dependent on a therapist, it is self-therapy, because it was education about ourselves. It is as simple as this is, but very crucial for our mental well-being. So coming back to understanding at a deeper level about our mind, body, and behavior connection, many of these conditions happen not just because of the chemical imbalance, which results in changes in our behavior, changes in our actions or our habits, or our experience with other people, especially having difficult relationships. So understanding that at a deeper level, understanding mind, body, behavior connection, or in other words, the thought, feeling, and behavior or action, they're all interrelated. Here in this juncture, I just want to introduce two words which we have heard very simply in Sanskrit: manas and buddhi. We've heard just about that. These two terms, we're going to go deeper and understand from a scientific way, because science is all about commonality. These neuroscience concepts will not change depending on the socio-economic, educational, religious background of people. It is going to be common for everyone. And it's also, science is about reproducibility. That means if we follow certain of these tools in a particular way, we're all supposed to get such results, whatever the results of science has proven in their research. If we're not getting the right results, then we need to tweak the process, or we need to go deeper, or there is something that we may not be doing right to be getting the right results. But science is about reproducibility. We're supposed to be getting similar results. So here, especially with the respect to our behavior, we're now focusing on the behavior on this slide. Many a times we listen to our mind. And the mind, because has negativity bias, it says one way, and the buddhi says another way. It's all about knowing which wins. Do we let our manas win, or do we let our buddhi win? So even these, we're going to understand at a deeper level as we go along. Talking about mind, of course, there is only one mind. And for all practical purposes, for our own practical purposes, to understand in a simpler way and to be able to implement these concepts more easily, we have come up with terms and classified the mind in a couple of different ways that we will understand right now. What is it? We know about our subconscious mind or our conscious mind, right? These are the terms all of us are aware of. So let us try and see, rather than calling it as a subconscious mind, I'm going to call that as a habitual mind, or an emotional mind, or non-conscious mind. This is what we're going to term this as manas. And this manas is usually on autopilot mode. The other type of mind is the willful mind, or the rational mind, or the conscious mind, or the deliberate mind. And this we call it as buddhi. When we are on the mindful mode, when we did the mindfulness breathing exercises yesterday and today, we are using this willful mind. So we can also use the word manas for habitual mind and buddhi for our willful mind. And from this habitual mind or the non-conscious mind, we also use the term sometimes lower mind. We get the depressive thoughts, anxious thoughts, compulsive thoughts, automatic negative thoughts that Vasant was talking about yesterday, what we call as ants. And there are other qualities of willful mind, which is the free will, the power to choose, willpower, willing something to do, our discerning power to figure out what is right and what is wrong, either in the short term or in the long term. And to be able to have the discerning power to be able to choose to evolve. And self-awareness. Self-awareness is the most important quality. And all these qualities of the willful mind or the conscious mind or the rational mind or the deliberate mind or the buddhi is what differentiates us humans from the rest of the animal kingdom. So let us now compare the mind with the structure of brain and understand where this mind is coming from, the different types of mind, the manas and the buddhi, and then we will see. understanding the structure of brain, what we call as neuroanatomy. In US, it is done for one whole semester for the medical students. But here, which means there is so much to learn about the brain. Of course, we're all going to be very much interested in understanding the anatomy. But it's not just interest that is necessary. What is needed is the implementation aspect of understanding the brain. So, keeping that implementation in mind, we have classified the brain in the simple form, so that even a 7-year-old can understand the structure. And we have done this for 7 to 8-year-olds also. In the same structure, we take it even when we talk to the doctors. This is from a totally different perspective of keeping this for implementation purposes. So if we can think about the brain in two major parts, we usually think right and left brain, that we know. That, let us think of that as little bit obsolete right now. We'll take a different classification saying that higher brain and lower brain. This lower center of the brain is the oldest part of the brain. And the functioning of this part of the brain is very similar to the other mammals. And not only mammals, some of other animals of lower species like lizard, crocodile, and whatnot. So much so, a little part of this lower center of the brain is called reptilian brain. So it works the same way. All the animal instincts that we have come from this lower center of the brain. And usually this lower center is on the autopilot mode. And the lower mind, or the non-conscious mind, comes from this lower center of the brain. The other part of the brain called higher center, which is the part of the brain that is just beneath the skull, is the higher center. And that is what is needed for us to take control of ourselves. How we said, we need to listen to our buddhi, not to our manas. And that is the brain, higher center of the brain. We have heard these terms, cerebral hemispheres and the cortex, different types of cortex, all of that is in this higher center of the brain. So this is where the buddhi emanates from. This is the simplest of simple classification of brain and mind. And this is really what helps us to implement these neuroscience concepts. Again, to put this in a different way, based on what we have also talked about yesterday, we talked about ants, automatic negative thoughts. And not only does that, when we say we are stressed out, when we say we are sad or depressed, or when we say we are very anxious, or we have certain compulsive thoughts, all of that is coming from the lower center of the brain, or from the non-conscious habitual mind. For people who have addictions, it is this lower center that is highly, highly active. Just a thought to keep in mind. Whereas the conscious mind, or the willful mind, wherein the free will, self-awareness, the focusing power, the concentration, and the discerning power, all of this arise from this higher center of the brain through the conscious mind, or the willful mind, rational mind, or the deliberate mind, or buddhi, very simply. Now, let us try and understand the same mind, manas and buddhi, lower mind and higher mind, from a different perspective, a functional perspective. So what you see here are two minds interacting with each other and producing the wise mind. This is just a diagrammatic representation for you to understand. So what we need to be focusing is on that wise mind. Because we might have the rational thoughts, but without the proper feelings, the actions either will be stressful if it is right, or sometimes the actions may not even be right. So it's all about consciously thinking, deliberately thinking certain thoughts with the proper feelings, because I said yesterday, feelings are the fuel for our actions. Both these minds are extremely important. When they are combined together, produces wise mind. And we need to widen this wise mind. How can we do that? When we become lifelong learners and when we practice these neuroscience concepts on a regular basis, on a moment to moment basis. I won't even say regularly, daily, at a certain time. This is what it means to be aware, to be doing things in a conscious way, except for certain of the habits, that wanted habits that we have applied for ourselves. Then they are very efficient. We don't need to think about it. But everything else that we need to be doing deliberately, extremely important for us to understand. Imagine, or go back to that slide wherein it said the relationship between thought and feeling, the very first neuroscience concept we talked about. What happens sometimes? There is dissonance. We think a thought, we feel a certain way, but our actions are quite opposite of what we are thinking. There is no harmony with our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. That kind of dissonance that we might have, or a discord, will not help widen the wise mind. I'll give you a very quick example you will be able to see. You're a professional or you're a homemaker, it doesn't matter. You are working on something and it is very stressful for you. You're resisting. Why should I be doing this? You're thinking in one way. Depending on those thoughts, you get such feelings. It's a negative thought. It produces negative feeling. But you know you need to do that. There is no other way. You don't have a choice in that sense. The same way as homemakers, you don't feel like cooking, but why am I stuck in this role? Sometimes some people, these are all natural feelings that come. But if we understand the science behind it, such natural feelings and thoughts are not helping us. Because we say it, we think it that way, we say it, we feel in a negative way, but we produce the right actions. We get up and go and clean and cook. Or that project, no matter how stressful, you don't have a choice. You have to meet the deadline. You will end up doing that. There is a discord. We need to bring harmony with our thinking, feeling, and acting upon. Only then the wise mind widens up. And the whole purpose is to widen this wise mind. And this is not a stage to reach. Okay, I'm going to be practicing mindfulness breathing. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to take care of my physical body and whatnot. So I will be, I have widened my wise mind. Now I'm wise. It doesn't work that way. It's a constant, dynamic process. And this widening of the wise mind happens until our last breath, until we are on the deathbed. This kind of explains. Don't focus too much on the body. For everybody, there will be something or other, whether genetic or otherwise, age-related things that will happen all the time. Whatever that needs to be done, take care of the things at the level of the body, gross level, and move to the subtler level of improving our mind. even subtler than that, we don't realize, is working with our relationships. So the whole purpose of evolving is also widening the wise mind. And please take a note of this. Whenever I say this is what it means to be evolving, make a note, and then maybe it would be nice if you can send us back what all you thought is evolving means. And somebody asked, what does that mean? What did you say about evolving? Yes, we're saying so many things simple, so we don't feel like writing it down. If we have to be true students, write it down, and then give a list for both Vasant and I at the end of the 4 days or after the 5th day. This will be the gift that you will be giving us. We would like to go over your list. What does it evolve mean? How much you have taken? How much you have cognized and understood? And then we will learn from that, and then we will see how much some of you might have missed what evolving means, and then we will figure out different ways for you to understand later at much later levels. So this this is what it means by mind training. The manas has to listen to the buddhi. The lower mind has to listen to the higher mind. Many a times it is the other way around. Especially with respect to interpersonal relationships. No matter how analytical we are, how unemotional we might be, but when it comes to relationships, something happens and our emotional mind takes over. And without our knowledge, it would have become a pattern for us. So, especially such times, remember that the buddhi has to take over your manas. The buddhi is the one that has the discerning power. And ask yourself, with that relationship, with it right now, it may be difficult, but at one time, especially if it is with the spousal relationship, at one time, that is the person that you love to such an extent. And what happened? Both of you developed in different ways, very independent ways. Something is not happening together. At that moment, use the discerning power. Does this make sense? Or it could be your child or a sibling. Why am I feeling like this? Does this make sense? And be able to change first your thoughts and then your feelings and then the actions. Of course, it helps when both of you, whether siblings or parent and child or spouses, come together to go through this together. It becomes more meaningful, but many a times it does not happen, and it should not matter. Just one person working towards evolving based on all these concepts, even though it might be slow, it might take more time, it is bound to work. This mind training, we also call that as manojaya. When buddhi wins over manas, but and also results in right action, it's called manojaya. To understand this, we're going to go deeper into science, because this is where science comes to our rescue. What we can do is, I think it is the right time to take a break. And while you come back from the break, think about any doubts that may have arisen in your mind, or any questions that you have related to what we have just spoken right now. And then we will take a 5-minute break, Anita.
Yes, ma'am.
And then come back in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Thank you.
We can start, ma'am.
Okay.
Auntie, there is a nice, interesting question.
Yes.
Take it.
Can you speak up, Vasant? I cannot hear you.
Okay, is it clear now?
Huh?
Vasant bhai, your voice is not clear.
How is it now?
Yeah, better.
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
There is a question by Parul Ben
Hmm.
saying that there is a constant struggle between the mind and buddhi. How to stay conscious about it and make wise decisions with awareness almost all the times.
Yes. Leading question, the answer in the next half hour, part of the answer, and then it will again tomorrow and day after, you will get the big picture. Absolutely. So that is what we're trying to do right now. Is that all? Any other question, Vasant?
There is
What
only
about
one
the-
in the chat.
What about the procrastination? Is this also the product of that?
Which is also product of what?
Procrastination.
Yeah,
postponing
product of
whatever you
what?
want. The buddhi and the manas, like whatever.
Yeah, it's not, you cannot say as a product when our higher center of the brain is not as active, or when our buddhi is not very active, we procrastinate. Or in other words, if our lower mind is more active, we procrastinate. We will get to that again tomorrow and day after. We will get into that. Any
Thank
other question?
Yeah, that's the only one on the chat box. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody in person, Anita?
No hand raise is there, ma'am. So
Okay, we will move on.
and take in the end. Take
Sure.
questions in the end.
Yes, absolutely. So we're now talking about mind training, Mano Jaya, right? And we're going to understand from a scientific perspective. Before we go into how to do that, you need to understand the kind of research that has happened to lead to this. Because I keep mentioning all of this is based on recent advances in neuroscience research. And we have distilled and brought this to you in such simple ways. We have unpacked the recent advances in neuroscience research so that everyone will be able to not just understand, but also implement these concepts so that we can all evolve individually and together. So, what is the science behind this? Whenever we want to change something, we have heard, right, from our young age, oh, you need to make up your mind. What does making up our mind means? You need to change your mind, saying that I need to change this, right? That is what making up our mind is. And we have tried. Yes, we have succeeded many a times, and we have not succeeded many a times, even though we think we have made up our mind and it still doesn't happen, right? Just like our New Year resolutions. How long will it stay? We know that. Anyway, the way to look at it is just changing our mind is not going to be enough. So, for that, in a different way, Dalai Lama posed a question saying that, you know what, if you want to change your life, just changing your mind is not going to be enough. You need to be able to change your brain itself, he said. At that time, the neuroscientist thought, what does that mean? Changing the brain. It's all about changing the mind to change our lives, right? He said, no, if you change your mind, it will change your brain. At that time, the neuroscientist thought if something happened to the brain, mind will get affected. If something happens to the mind, how will it affect the brain? They looked at it in such simple manner. In a manner to be able to compare the brain to a computer, the brain itself as the hardware and the mind as software. And at that time, the understanding of the computers is if something happened to the hardware, the software gets affected. If something happened to the software, nothing will happen to the hardware, right? That is how they looked at it in simple terms. But Dalai Lama said, no, it's the other way around. You need to be able to change your mind so that the brain can change. And he said, you know what? If I am right, because what he was talking about was based on Buddhist psychology books. And the Buddhist psychology books are based on our Hindu scriptural books, because Buddhism is an offshoot of Hinduism. Very little, hardly any difference, honestly, between Buddhism and Hinduism, maybe at 1 or 2 points. So when he said that, if I am right, you need to change your scientific textbooks. If I am wrong, I'll go back and change my scriptural books. And he challenged the neuroscientists in this way. And not only that, he also sent many, many scientists, like the one that you see in the picture here. He's actually a French molecular biologist turned into a Buddhist monk, and his name is Matthew Ricard. Like him, he sent many Buddhist monks of various degrees of levels of meditation, starting with 5,000 hours of meditation to 10,000, 20,000, 25,000 hours of meditative practice. And they were sent to US and Europe, and their brains were scanned. They were scanned using not just the regular MRI, but fMRI, functional MRI studies, wherein you can actually see the changes in the brain that happens over a period of time. It's not just one-time scanning. And there were also PET scans, SPECT scans. Using all these studies, they looked at the changes in the brain of these meditative monks. And their brain activity was compared to non-meditative control group of people. And certainly there were clear-cut differences in the structure of the brain itself. To understand this in a more scientific way, right now I have talked about in an anecdotal form, and let us understand the same research in a scientific way. In other words, if we change our brain, change the structure of the brain, change the function of the brain, our life changes. How does that happen? You change your thoughts in a particular way. What are thoughts? Nothing but thoughts, feelings, belief systems, perception. All of this combined together is mind, right? So in other words, you change your thoughts and feelings, which is nothing but change your mind in a particular way, in a willful way, in an effortful way. And over a period of time, the very structure and function of the brain changes. However, there is a small caveat here. When we change our mind, yes, the brain changes, but it's only for a short term, which we have observed, just like that example of New Year resolution, right? Then how do we make long-lasting changes in our life? Not just in the brain, in our life. The changing the mind has to result in change in our experience, change in our habits, change in our actions, change in our experience. Then and only then there will be long-lasting changes in our lives, because that changing in our mind, followed by change in our experience or habits or actions, will have long lasting changes in the structure and function of the brain. And this whole process is called neuroplasticity, changing of the brain, which means the brain is moldable, malleable, it can change, it can remold itself because of our change in our mind, because of our experience, and it keeps on remolding itself and changing itself. And that whole entire process is called neuroplasticity. Again, going a little deeper, what does changing our mind means? Changing our thoughts, changing our perception, changing our attitude, changing our belief system, very important, in a particular way over a period of time will help in the change in the structure and function of the brain. That is what causes change in our life. This change is nothing but transformation when it sticks, that results in changing our personality itself. It is kind of so profound. There are literally thousands and thousands of research papers that have happened, and we have distilled it and made it so simple for you to understand. So any change that we need to make, any new habit that we want to form, new good habit, or we're trying to get rid of old unwanted habits, and it has to happen through this. Yes, I can assure you, the first question that comes to everybody's mind, I have said, you have to change your mind in a particular way, willful way, deliberate way, and over a period of time, this is what happens. And everybody is interested in what is that period of time? For how many days do we need to do this? $1 million question again. And of course, many people say, oh, you have to do this for 21 days. You have to do this for so many weeks, 6 weeks. People will come up with different answers. My answer to that question is, many a times, it is a lifelong process. The answer to this question, you will realize on the 4th day, which we're going to answer ourselves. Many a times, does not matter. Again, it depends on what we're trying to change. We will bring that up, what it is, much later. Little things, little change in habits, it can happen within days. For some people, it's only within days. For some people, it is 21 days, several weeks, several months. So rather than focusing on how many days, let us focus on the result. Whatever number of days or weeks it might take for certain of the even smaller habits. Once you make up your mind, when there is that intellectual conviction, no matter what, I want this change. That's why I posed that question, another $1 million question, whether we want to survive through some situation or through any relationship, or do we want to evolve through that relationship, It's a lifelong process. Don't focus on so many days, so many weeks. Make it a habit. And this is how we actually evolve over a period of time. And that evolution is until our last breath. Word of caution here, the neuroplasticity, when we hear like this, when we learn something new, when we understand something new like this, we think, oh, this is all only for good. Absolutely not. Whether without our knowledge, we are picking up certain bad habits, like it happens in addictions, it is the same neuroplasticity in work. But imagine certain addictive behaviors. It's the same neuroplasticity. It's only the content of that habit formation rather than getting addicted to alcohol, getting addicted to tobacco, getting addicted to whatever food. That means you are capable of transforming easily. Pat yourselves on the back. Don't focus on the negative habits. Focus that you're able to make that habit. It's just that you didn't realize you have picked up a bad habit. But focus on that it was possible for you and change that habit. And that is what I'm going to talk to many of you that who pose that question about the influence of technology now, how it has affected some of your lives, especially for adults. Not that technology is bad. What is it that we are using it for? Makes it addictive, makes it mindless, makes our time, wailing our time, and makes us skip on our duties and responsibilities. All you need to do is to change the contents of whatever you're using this technology for. And when you're learning something that is positive, something that is truly helpful for your evolution, I can assure you, you will not get addicted. Or if you get addicted to using that technology, you should know if you're learning it proper way, you will never skip on your duties and responsibilities. You will always find time to be able to do all of that. So be watchful of how you make use of the technology for your benefit. Only when we have mastered this can we help the youngsters. Because I get people, the parents are so used to using this technology, and automatically the kids pick that up. And the kids don't realize many a times for adults, this is very much needed. The technology is needed for their work, but the kid will not understand. So one has to be really, really careful when you use the technology in front of young kids, because values are caught, not taught. Those little kids will do what you do, not because of what you say. Keep this in the back of your mind. Again, there also it's neuroplasticity in action. And how do we use this concept of neuroplasticity? And I say, introduce a new concept of neurosculpting. We can all become neurosculptors of our life. You can say, why? Because whether we know it or not, we all have that animal instinct in us. Some of it may not be as helpful for us at times. So let that mammal in us, that animal nature, not just the instincts, that animal nature in us die, so that the man, the human nature in us can live through. This is nothing but becoming a neuro sculptor in our lives. A neuro sculptor, what does that mean? A sculptor, we understand sculptor, neuro. That means we can sculpt out our own brain. Just like a sculptor chips off everything that is unwanted in a big boulder, because a sculptor sees, if, for example, if he is sculpting out, let us say, a Ganesha in that big stone, all he sees is that Ganesha in that big stone. Whatever is not Ganesha in his mind, he will chip off. So what remains is Ganesha out of that huge boulder. He did not take anything from outside, like as a painter would do, right? But he took off things from that stone to create that masterpiece. This is what we meant by yesterday saying the answer is within us. We need to find that out and then take it out. We'll see what we mean by being a neurosculptor. Taking out all our unwanted thoughts, feelings, memories, disempowering belief system, and the wrong perception, looking at the reality in the wrong way, we need to chip off. And what are our tools? Just like for the sculptor, it is a hammer and a chisel. For us, the tools are self-awareness, the discerning power, the willpower. These are the tools of our conscious mind, our willful mind, our rational mind, our deliberate mind. In other words, buddhi. These are the tools that help us, or these are the qualities that help us to be humans. And these are the qualities that help us to differentiate ourselves from the rest of the animal kingdom. And not just this, there are much more like empathy, compassion, kindness. Along with all of this is what helps us to be neurosculptors. We know what is it that we need to get rid of. It could be our anger. It could be our jealousy feelings. It could be hatredness. Once we become self-aware, we are aware of our own negative thoughts and feelings. But along with these powers, you need to know you also have kindness, empathy, sympathy along with that. So while you chip off, be kind to yourself. And be willing in a helpful manner, in a kind manner, in a compassionate manner to chip off all these unwanted thoughts and feelings so as to sculpt out a new you. When we do this, we will be fulfilling our own potential by chipping away our own limitations. This is evolving. To be utilizing our potential to the fullest extent. All that potential, all these qualities, self-awareness, discerning power, willpower, concentration power, empathy, kindness, loving kindness, compassion, all these, many of it is potential within us. We need to manifest this. And there are many different possibilities that we can become. What do we become? Not just how we become, what do we become of ourselves when we become neurosculptors? That is fulfilling our potential, innate potential to the fullest extent possible. This is evolving. And what does that fulfillment mean? What does that evolving mean? I'll give you one more example so that you can get it even more simply. Because there are many different possibilities within us to be able to utilize our potential to the fullest extent. To understand this, let us take the example of a seed. You know, there are many uses for the seed. A seed can be used so that we can use it for eating purposes. We can fry the seed and then eat that. We can boil the seed and eat that seed. We can cook and make a dish and eat that. We can use that seed to decorate something, to make greeting cards. No right or wrong. These are all the possibilities that the seed has. But how does that seed get fulfilled? When it is sown in the soil with the right fertilizer, water, and sunlight, it grows into a tree bearing fruits and to give out those fruits and shelter for others. That is when the seed will get fulfilled. Just bearing the fruits is again not going to be enough. It also has to give unconditionally that fruit to others and the shade to others in an unselfish manner. This is how a seed will really get fulfilled. To be fulfilled in our lives is to evolve.
Excuse me, the slides are not moving.
They're not moving. Which slide are you seeing?
It is self-awareness, discussing power and willpower.
Yeah. That's just in that slide. Then
Okay.
I was just
Okay.
explaining.
Okay,
Now,
sorry.
yeah, that's okay. Now, what is it that we need to chip away? It's this. This is what in Sanskrit we call this Arishad Varga. Ari means enemies. Shad is 6 enemies that are present in each and every one of us without any exception. All these. Just like what we talked about, ants present in everybody, so is this. This is what we need to be chipping away because these are our afflictive emotions. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. And scientifically, we can call them as ants, automatic negative thoughts, which become feelings or emotions, automatic negative emotions. We don't need to put any effort to get angry. We need effort to not to get angry. We don't need any effort to feel any of these afflictive emotions, but it happens automatically. And we need to be focusing on hygiene, emotional hygiene. We focus on physical hygiene. We focus on dental hygiene. We focus on hygiene in the external environment. How much attention have we paid about our emotional hygiene, about these afflictive emotions? Very important because these afflictive emotions are too strong and they last too long and many a times out of place, just like what I mentioned. It's our own people. I raised my only son. I loved him so much, and now he's a teenager and behaving in a different way. I cannot stand him. It is an out of place afflictive emotion. Rightly so, no righteous indignation, but that doesn't help. How do we manage this? That means we have not learned how to manage the relationships, whether spousal or with our children or siblings or friends or colleagues. How do we manage these afflicting emotions? Because these afflicting emotions prevent us to be evolving. There are different ways of managing afflictive emotions too. Looking at our emotional health, yes, keeping ourselves physically fit also is a way to manage our emotions, emotional hygiene, and definitely our nutritional health, sleep, absolutely sleep hygiene, and our spiritual health. All of this affect our interpersonal relationships. When we put in more effort into all of this through self-management, we can improve our own interpersonal relationships with others. So the afflictive thoughts and emotions need to be converted to healing thoughts and emotions. So What does that mean? We are here to evolve as human beings. Just before going further, I'm just recapping what we have done so far. We are born as humans to evolve. The purpose of human life is to evolve, whether we know it or not. And how do we do that? By realizing the potential to the fullest extent possible, because we give up. You have no idea what it is in my home with this person, X person. Could be husband, it could be wife, it could be son, it could be a parent, it doesn't matter. Say it's not possible to do anything. All it means is we do not know how to tap into our potential, the unlimited potential that we have to the fullest extent. Again, we're going to go deeper into this as we go along. But just understand this. This is what it means to evolve, to tap into our potential to the fullest extent possible, so that we can have meaningful and purposeful relationship. This is the surest way to evolve. So, very simply, be good, do good, and see good, both in others and yourself. So, continuing, I said, the statement is one favorite of mine, right? When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. So why? Why are we here? Why are we attending this workshop? And why are we here on this earth as human beings? We start from, oh, we're surviving, we're thriving, we are so successful. And they say, oh, we are here to change, we are here to adapt. But through all of this, we need to end up evolving. This is why we are here to learn how to evolve through our relationships. So again, the $1 million question, ask that question, whether whichever relationship, a difficult one, or any situation that you're going through, do I need to just go through this, adjust, adapt, which is nothing but the survival mode? Or do I want to evolve through this situation? No right or wrong answer, because this evolution of ours is on a moment to moment basis. It's not a stage to reach. At times, we may not be able to evolve. Just keep adjusting and move on. Keep adapting and move on. But don't stagnate in your relationship. So evolution is on a moment to moment to moment basis. And self-awareness plays the key role. So much so, there is a saying in our scriptures saying that Arive Guru. Arivu is nothing but awareness, self-awareness is our own guru. The teacher is inside us. We are just trying to ignite that you can call teacher tattva within us so that we can evolve into better beings. It won't happen automatically, I can assure you. It is a choice we need to make. And that choice is effortful. And that choice has to be made in a deliberate way, and in a willful way. It won't happen. That evolution won't happen automatically. This is the main difference between evolution of animals and evolution of human beings. What we have studied in our childhood days about evolution of animals, that happened automatically because the animals needed to survive. Whereas with humans, We don't need to evolve to survive. We will survive somehow or other. Not only do we survive, we can be highly successful, we can be thriving, we can be very wealthy, highly educated, and whatnot. But that evolution of human beings is a choice we need to make. Evolution is not for survival in humans, whereas evolution in animals is for their survival. Here we need to make a choice to evolve. So coming back, now focusing back again on our relationships to evolve. Why? Why are we here? We are here for self-discovery, to understand ourselves, how this mind of ours will work. How does this brain work? We're not here to learn all of this so that we can go back home and change somebody else's behavior. We are here for ourselves, to understand and change ourselves. So for that, this serenity prayer, bring in a prayer, because I think this is highly, highly scientific in nature, you know. And we need to implement this prayer. It is not for learning it rote memory and just repeating it. Even without the meaning, we repeat so many of our Sanskrit shlokas. It is not that way. This is easy to understand. And this prayer works only when we implement, not if we repeat it many times. What is that prayer? Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Grant me the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Very profound, simple, very practical, extremely important to implement. Again, for today's homework for you, just reflect on this prayer for yourselves and see what it means to you. Now, I think we can take one or two questions, Anita, before we finish up. Quick ones, if it is directly related to what I have been talking. If not, we will move on, finish, and then take up questions. Your call, Anita.
We can finish off, and as
Okay.
there is no hand raise,
Sure.
we'll
Okay.
continue.
Certainly. See, whatever I'm talking about feels like, sounds like philosophical. Oh, she is talking in such an idealistic way, right? It is not. Everything I've been saying is backed by science, and I'm going to provide the scientific evidence. I'm going to just touch upon this maybe in about 45 seconds, but this is such an important piece of scientific work. We're going to put this link on the chat box here, so that I would like you all to go through that link. What is the scientific evidence? This is the Harvard longitudinal study. It is the longest research, one of the longest research study that they have conducted at Harvard University. They've taken 724 participants and still continuing to look at them and study their life, what is happening. So whatever, 85 years back, I think either freshmen or senior students were chosen. They were given questionnaires, and these are the ones, Harvard University students. So you can imagine 85 years, how many great personalities have come up from Harvard universities, including many of the Supreme Court judges or presidents and vice presidents and whatnot. So they've collected about 724 participants, and it's still going, if I'm correct. And the key takeaway from this is they say just as much as self-care, self-management is important, also tending to our relationships. Just like we take care of our body and mind, tending and nurturing the relationships is extremely important. And nurturing meaningful relationships, and any relationship to nurture and to make it meaningful, it contributes to our own joy and happiness, and much more than what money can buy, what fame can get us, whatever social class that one belongs to, whatever intelligence or whatever genetic capability that we have. Much more than that, tending to our relationships is what is really important, is what this study shows. And relationship satisfaction is a better indicator than any of the diagnostic tests that we take, whether it is cholesterol or blood pressure or our blood glucose levels, just like what Vasant was mentioning yesterday. Much more than any of those diagnostic features, relationship satisfaction is a better indicator of our own health as we grow old, or better indicator of how we are growing. So also very important to know, because as we get old, many a times we just have to live by ourselves. Loneliness has such negative influence on health as much as smoking or alcoholism. Not aloneness, not just living alone won't do it. Many people love to stay alone, and it's a natural way. They're comfortable with themselves. I'm not talking about aloneness. You can be with many people and still feel lonely. This is also what happens to many of the aged people. That has a very negative influence on one's health. So this study is so important. I think either Anita or Vasant must have put this link on the chat box. Please go through this. This is one more homework for you. Take your time, go through this, and go study this study even more deeply, not just the YouTube. And it is also on the internet. You'll be able to understand a lot of it, and also a TED Talk, if I'm correct. So what we will do is we will look into the rewiring tools for the brain. How can we get rid of all our unwanted habits, even at the thought level, that Arishad Varga, what we talk about, and how do we build meaningful relationships. There are tools I will just mention, not go into detail, but again we will go into detail as we go along. Developing an attitude of gratitude and writing a journal. What is it that we are grateful for? Who is it that we are grateful for? At least 3 things that we are grateful for every day. If you write in a journal, that helps as a rewiring tool. And definitely taking care of our physical health by increasing physical activity, and not just physical health. Increased physical activity will also help in our mental health. And how to be kind, journaling about that, and some of the mind-body medicine interventions, as we may say. Meditation, any type of meditation, and especially when you look at it from a scientific way, there are many different ways or types of mindful breathing techniques that one can adapt depending on what we are looking for at that time in our lives. Sometimes we may want to increase our concentration. Sometimes we may need to calm ourselves down. So, for each one of those, there are different types of meditative techniques one can use. And using art or music or dance as therapy to be able to rewire our brains. And there are certain, I think, 3 or 4, we can actually share these guided meditation techniques that we have come up with through Yogakshema. And that is done by Vasant. You will hear Vasant's voice and as guided meditation techniques that has helped so many people. We have sent this out to many people outside of India whenever they were going through tough times. And they always say, oh, they have not seen Vasant, they do not know Vasant, but somebody else has sent, or we might ourselves might have sent to some of our friends and family. And they always say, Vasant's voice is so soothing. We can really remember his voice, his instructions, and that is enough for us to bring back and then be grounded. So these meditative technique tapes are very useful. And I'll request Anita to share with the rest of the group, not just putting in the chat box. Anita, you may collect them from our faculty, either Vasant or somebody else, and then please share it with the rest of the group. There are different techniques for different things. You will get an idea when you practice those. So I would like to show a short video before concluding. There is some music. I forgot to activate the sound system. You don't need to worry. It's just background music. There is nothing that is talked you're going to be missing. If you don't hear the music, not to worry, because whatever you want to see, you will be able to see and read on the screen itself. Okay, let's go on.
Ubuntu का Ubuntu.
So we started yesterday and ended yesterday's session by talking about the importance of interdependence and interconnectedness. That video depicts that little girl with just one word, Ubuntu, says it all. It's really, really profound. So, interconnected and interdependence of all things and beings is the crux or the foundation that, if we are intellectually convinced about it, is what is going to lead to meaningful interpersonal relationships, and through that to be evolving as better beings. So I keep saying, in any kind of relationship, ask this $1 million question, and it helps. I started with this, and I'm going to end this with this question. Do I want to survive through this relationship or through this situation, or do I want to evolve through this? And it reminds me of this saying by Swami Ranganathanandaji. He was the 13th president of Ramakrishna Order. He represented our country as the cultural ambassador and then visited, I don't know, something, 85 countries or 120 countries or so, spreading Vedantic message to different countries. And he says, are you growing spiritually? Are you growing spiritually? Can you love others? Can you feel oneness with others? And have you peace within yourself? And do you radiate this peace around you? This, he says, is spiritual growth. And the spiritual growth is stimulated by meditation inwardly and by work done in a spirit of service outwardly. Very profound. And this Swamiji has had a huge influence in my life. So let's end with my personal affirmation or a statement. May every moment of our lives and the life of others around us be one of wisdom, inner peace, and happiness, leading to love. Thank you.
Wonderful session, ma'am. Wonderful.
I know we just finished on time, a couple of minutes, but
If there are any
anybody
questions.
who wants to ask questions, we'd be here. If anybody has to leave, because I know it's a working day, it's quite okay. No, I'm sure you won't miss anything. This is recorded. You can watch later. If anybody wants to stay back and ask questions, we are here. Both Vasant and I will be able to share whatever we know.
Bankim Bhai, please ask.
Yes, Bankim. You need to unmute yourself.
So what I understand, in these 2 days, that it's a journey from, survival to evolution. And I think there are 2 phases which you mentioned in between is one is a change and third is adapt. Okay.
Yeah, it's not first, second, and third, and it's not a phase.
Okay.
Evolution is on a moment-to-moment basis. Phase means it's a stage. We do so
Right.
much, we work on this so much, and then we get evolved. That is what we mean by phase or stage.
Okay.
It is
So
not that
let me come
way.
to the
It is on
question.
a
Yeah.
moment-to-moment basis we need to be evolving.
Got it.
Yes.
So yeah, let me come to the question. We cannot take, lots of big bites at the same time. So if we have to prioritize, the small changes one can adapt, right, in this journey, then what would be those, baby steps, in terms of what you call ease to change or ease in adoption, okay? And, then you can build on those and then move ahead. So will something like that will be coming tomorrow or day after?
We touched upon it already today. If I
Okay.
have to just amongst those, the rewiring tools of the brain, even if you just take one thing, because we're talking about interpersonal relationships through that to evolve, maintain a journal of gratitude, develop an attitude of gratitude. We used to think the conventional wisdom was, oh, if you're happy, if you have everything, you're going to be grateful. But the new research shows, we can share some of those scientific references for you tomorrow. We will do that. Uh, the new research shows if we are grateful, we are happy. So just start the gratitude journal. Sit at the same place at the same time and write 3 things that you're grateful for every day and watch what happens over a period of time. And if you have specific issues with a specific person, then make it even more focused. The difficult relationship that you have with that person, think about 3 things that you're grateful for that person. Or in general, my nature is like that. I cannot get along with so many people. It's not just one or two. Then dig deep. This is about self discovery. What is it? That's why we are trying to understand ourselves in a scientific way. What is it that is in your mind? Is it because my lower center is active? Then what is it that I need to do? So ask yourself, dig deep, and write 3 things that you're grateful for, which means you're focusing something positive. Not usually, what do? We focus on something that is not right, either in ourselves or in others. We are making a paradigm shift. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. Write 3 things that you're grateful for towards that person. If that person is also cooperative and to be part of this, and request that person to write 3 things grateful for in you. You can do this in a mutual way or independently and see what happens. And we're, of course, going to give you more tools as we go along. We are going stepwise. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you
Thanks.
for that question, Bankim.
Bharti-ben?
You have to unmute.
Yeah.
Unmute.
Yes. Actually, you talked about manas and buddhi. When our thoughts goes on, heart also is one of the thing. I wanted to know the pathway in which it works, because what your hriday or heart says, I think that you follow in a better way. So I wanted to know the scientific pathway and how do you choose things.
See, heart, we say in a non scientific manner. There is no right or wrong here. And so we're used to saying, oh, I listen to my heart and whatnot, gut feeling, all of this. So when you look at it in a scientific way, we cannot say any kind of heart in the brain. Everything happens within the brain, right? Even what
Yeah.
we call it as heart center, it is not the physical heart we're talking about. Even when you look at it in a scientific way, the heart center resides in the brain. The how much, even if you look at it in a physiological perspective, how the heart functions, beating, all of that is up here in the brain, a particular region in the brain that controls the function of the heart. So
Yeah.
colloquially, non-scientifically, we just call it, we listen to the heart. It's all it
Okay.
means is we are really going. I can say, when we say, if it is really listening to our heart, that is that wise mind talking about. But when we
Okay.
say
Fine.
in such a loose manner, it is truly not the wise mind that is talking about. It is the lower mind filled with biases. And we want it our way, and we are trying to defend our ways of thinking and doing. And that is what we call it. My heart says this and my heart says that. But the true heart center is nothing but that wise mind, which means doing the right thing each time and every time, not once in a
Right.
while, not just doing the right thing with only few people, our loved and near and dear ones, doing the right thing. We can learn about doing things right manner later, but doing the right thing means we are using our discerning power to be able to decide based on all of these concepts that we have learned to be evolving. It's all this anger, jealousy, hatredness is coming in our way. We cannot be making decisions in an angry way, or being jealous about some community. We cannot be making decisions. Understanding our biases, everybody will have biases, understanding them, and to be able to come out of those biases to make decisions is using the wise mind.
Thank you. And other thing is uh, convincing others. Like you said that we have to be active in what we do, and then the others will learn and all. But the thing is that everything may not be possible and may not be practical. So how do you
Absolutely.
go about convincing the
we
convincing
cannot
these
convince
addictive
anybody.
things?
Yes, I get your point. Go back to the serenity prayer. The
Yeah, yeah.
solution is in the serenity prayer.
Okay,
Grant
right.
me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. The first thing we need to know, we cannot change others. Then we need to accept with serenity. And grant me the courage to change the things I can. There is so much we can change. That is what we need to be focusing on. And if we are doing it the right way, over a period of time, it should and it will affect the other person in a positive way. Sometimes it is too late. We may not be alive to see that happen, but we have to have that conviction. If I am doing the right thing, if I am looking at things in an idealistic way, not in a practical way, this is bound to happen. That intellectual conviction has to be there, otherwise, it won't. Otherwise, we won't be following the way we should be following, doing the right thing each time and every time.
Right. Yes.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
so
that
much.
question.
Thank you.
Parulben?
It was an excellent lecture.
Thank you.
Namaste, Usha Dedi. Good morning.
Namaste. Namaste.
It was really an excellent lecture. I just wanted to say, because I've done your lectures earlier also, what happens is that I know that it's like a spiral learning. Every time you learn something more and there is still a lot more to learn. But it becomes one challenge is that you get into habit of going back to the same old pattern. So that is something makes that little bit difficult. So how do we keep balance between, like, how do we keep going back to the say right track and not fall into the trap of going back to the old patterns and make the kind of, sometimes we say making the same mistakes either in with self, relationship with self also is very important, and in relation to others also. So how do we like be more mindful and aware of
Yeah.
practicing it in day-to-day life at times? And in my thing, because of the kind of work we do, professional work, and the pressure, because of that, it's really more challenging to get time for self-care and self-reflection or doing these things more regularly, because of the travel, this, that, our life is not the routine we cannot maintain, and then we go back to the same old traps. So if you
A
can guide us.
$1 million question again, Parul. What I'll do is, rather than starting that, it's an important one. What I will do tomorrow morning, I will address this in a creative way. And then you will be able to enjoy that answer much more than if I take a left-brained approach and try to convince you. Let's do it in a creative manner tomorrow. This is what I'll do. Take it up the first thing. Absolutely. Very good question. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you know what, Parul? It's not just for you. And it's not just for people, they're working because they are busy. And that's a good reason. But you know what? This is the way the mind works. So rather than again giving all the scientific ways, let us look at this in a creative manner tomorrow. And then I'll address that first thing before taking it up.
Okay. Thank you. Can we stop sharing, please?
Yes. Because there are also some people who have left. I don't want them to miss this answer. That is another reason we will take it up tomorrow, Parul.
Sure, Didi. Thank you.
Someone has asked, ma'am, can I get the link to join the community group if you have?
What community group?
Anita, I think maybe that person is talking about getting these links and
WhatsApp community. Is there any?
Sejal Ben, please.
Yeah. Ma'am, is there any WhatsApp community group? Somebody mentioned it. That's why I asked. I'm new for this HHL program.
Our community group.
Yeah, HHL group
Lecture is arranged for this batch. So if you share the link in this batch group, we won't be able to access the links. So please share the link in community group so we also can see the videos and.
Which link, ma'am? Which link you are talking about?
Vasant sir has shared link in
that
I will those links. Yeah, ma'am.
No, the link, I would like to have the link for meditation so that,
Yes,
really
sir.
helps in whatever she has been telling. I think we can implement. So
that links have been shared. One is Harvard School study and another is meditation videos. So please share both the links and community group also, not just in this year's batch.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sure. Thank you.
Anita ma'am, it is participants HHL WhatsApp group that she might be talking.
Yeah, I understood. And actually, previous year participants are also there. So 124 group is there and 2024 group is there, and one HHL community group is also there.
No, I am in VMS group.
I will share in all groups. Don't worry.
Thank you.
So, Madhuben?
Yeah. Ma'am, thank you so much. Your talks are so deep. And end of your session, I feel that we have no more doubts, and you actually answered most of our doubts.
Thank
Still,
you.
ma'am, I would stick to that question that
Sure.
I was talking about epigenetics. Ma'am, you have mentioned that inwardly how
Yeah.
we can, improve, evolve ourselves through meditation or through self-awareness, and lot of other tools you've been talking about. But outwardly, like Chinmaya Mission Guru said, by serving others. So this is also my mission to, to help people how they can, they can remove this notion, intellectual conviction. Like medical doctors, they always say when you go to them in case of diabetes, oh, it's genetics, it's hereditary, you can't help it. You have to be lifelong on medication. So here, the role of epigenetics, how we can convince others. Like I'm also going through the same experience, but I don't want to be convinced by this that it is genetic. I want to fight it out. I want to, through various tools you've been talking about, I want to reach the stage of feeling the wellness by,
Great.
yeah.
Yeah, great question, Madhu. Whatever you're doing, that's the right thing. In a non-scientific way, people call this miracle, but there is no miracle here if we diligently work on certain things. Whatever that can be changed. For example, just because neuroplasticity works, if I make up my mind, I want to run a marathon in 1 week, is that feasible? Is that practical? Is that possible? It's impossible, right? At my age, if I don't if I'm not physically fit, it is not possible. It's not just mind over matter that I'll be able to run a marathon in 1 week. So we cannot take it as a blank statement, whether it's epigenetics or neuroplasticity in action or mind over matter. We need to understand how this works. There is no miracle here. That's why for Bankim's question, I keep saying this is a process. And when I say it is until our last breath, it is not making, oh my goodness, I thought if I attend this, I'll have certain solutions. I work on it. In 1 month, I would be what I want to be. What we are doing, as you rightly said, is really, really deep. And many of this is either genetic from a scientific perspective or from a scriptural perspective. We call this nothing but samskara, which is nothing but genetic predisposition,
Yeah.
from a scientific perspective. And if there is a defective gene, and it is not that we can just change by just thinking positive. Some of it we might, some of it we may not. That also we need to accept. But beyond all of this, what we're trying to get at is, yes, we need to pay attention to this body. We need to pay attention to this mind. Extremely important. Equally important is paying attention to the relationship issues. And physical body has certain limitations, and accept the limitations of the physical body, but yet you can be evolving by focusing on your mind and on your relationships. So rather than just get stuck at the physical body level, let us move to the subtler levels and then try to evolve. There is only so much you can do to evolve working on the physical body, we can certainly evolve when we go to the subtler levels. This is the message I want to give rather than just explain what epigenetics is about.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for that question.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
So, ma'am, no other questions are there.
Okay.
So we will conclude
Okay.
here.
Yes.
And it was a wonderful session, ma'am. Everyone
Thank you.
will get benefit with this session.
Yes.
So thanks a
Thank
lot, ma'am, for your
Yes.
time. And we'll end the meeting and
Sure.
we'll meet
Tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks to all participants.
Thank you,
Very
all
much.
of you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Anita
ma'am.
ji.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam.
Have a good day.